It is episode number 39 of Hitting for the Cycle. That's Ben Kruse. I'm Ryan Touhey. It is Independence Day week, and Major League Baseball is officially more than halfway through its regular season. And the All-Star break is right around the corner. So, Ben, how are you doing?
I'm good. It's crazy to think that we're now in the month of July. And yeah, pretty eventful June. A lot of stuff that happened, but I think July is going to bring their own excitement as well. And yeah, we got the trade deadline at the end of this month. Of course, July 4th this week. So happy July 4th to everybody. And yeah, just should be a really, really exciting month. Be on vacation this month, so that'll be nice for myself. And we got pretty much the prime of baseball kind of coming up here, Ryan. We kind of can really see now at this point in time who's going to be the buyers, who's going to be the sellers, and kind of in between. So should be.
Yeah, I was just about to say business is about to really pick up this month. And as you said, we're going to start to find out who is a buyer and who is a seller. And Ben, I don't know if you're still frozen, but it looked like okay, you're back. But yeah, as you had mentioned, July is when business really starts to pick up for Major League Baseball, and we start to see who are pretenders, who are contenders, and yeah, we get a clear indication of where teams are going as the month goes on with the trade deadline. So we're going to get into all that and more. But before we get into our topics for this episode, we just want to remind everybody, of course, to follow Hitting for the Cycle on Facebook, X, and Instagram at HFTC ETB. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network. Follow our YouTube channel at youtube.com/ETB Network. You see it right down below. And finally, listen to us on whatever platforms you listen to your podcasts on.
Yep. And this episode, as always, for you guys, is presented to you guys by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB number to find out more, including our live stream schedule. We just had an NBA free agency show a couple days ago. That was kind of offset, but now we're partnered, I guess, with NBA TV. So even though the NBA season is over, make sure to get the latest on Playback on our Empty Bench Network, as we tend to have some stuff in the off season and, of course, much more. So make sure to tune in for all that stuff.
All right, so let's get into it. So a couple of weeks ago, Major League Baseball and the San Francisco Giants mourned the loss of all-time legend Willie Mays, the Say Hey kid, who passed away. And unfortunately, we've had another passing in Major League Baseball and another former San Francisco Giant legend, Orlando Cepeda, former longtime infielder for the San Francisco Giants. He passed away at the age of 86. Cepeda had a very long career in Major League Baseball, and he had a very solid career. He played for the Giants, the Cardinals, the Braves, the A's, the Red Sox, and the Royals. So he had a good career in a bunch of different cities, and his career was very, very good. He won the National League Rookie of the Year award in 1958 with the Giants, and that was the Giants' first year in San Francisco ever since relocating from New York. And he was also the National League's most valuable player in 1967 when he was a member with the St. Louis Cardinals. And the Cardinals would go on to win the World Series that year in 1967. And during that season, he slugged 25 home runs, had 111 RBIs, and he batted .325 with a .399 OBP and a .524 slugging percentage. So a very, very good season for Cepeda, and he definitely deserved that National League Most Valuable Player Award. He was an 11-time All-Star, and he was the first Puerto Rican player to start a Major League Baseball All-Star game. That was in 1961. Oh, no, that was 1959. I'm sorry. He was the first Puerto Rican player to start a Major League Baseball All-Star game. He was also on the runner-up in the National League Most Valuable Player Award in 1961, so he almost won the award twice. And, yeah, he was the Rookie of the Year, like I mentioned, in 1958. He was the NL home run leader in 1961, and he led the National League in RBIs twice, both in 61, his runner-up MVP season, and 67, the year he won the MVP's Most Valuable Player. And his number 30 is retired by the San Francisco Giants. He's a member of their Wall of Fame. And his career could have been more, arguably, but unfortunately he had a lot of knee problems throughout his career, and eventually got to the point where he was traded from the National League to the American League, where the designated hitter was adopted in 1973. He joined Boston in 73 and then finished his career in Kansas City in 74. So very sad news to hear. But Cepeda was a very good ball player, like I mentioned, and he was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1999. So rest in peace to Mr. Cepeda. And he definitely won't be forgotten. And he left a very lasting impact and legacy, probably for a lot of Puerto Rican players who have come to the major leagues. A lot of them, I'm sure, looked up to Cepeda, and he'll definitely be missed. So rest in peace to Mr. Cepeda.
Yeah, rest in peace to Mr. Cepeda at the age of 86. Man, talk about tough times over in San Francisco. I mean, for the baseball community in general, but to have two of your legends that were pretty much well known in the San Francisco Bay Area, it must be really, really tough. I remember obviously with Tim Wakefield and the Wakefield community, that was really tough for me. And I mean, it still kind of hurts till this day. But yeah, Cepeda was a legend. Like you mentioned, he played with a ton of different teams. He pretty much did it all. He was kind of like Willie in a way, just pretty much did everything that you could for every single team that he was playing with. And the Dodgers and the Giants, I believe, had a moment of silence for him before their weekend series, honoring Cepeda, which I think was really, really cool because you have kind of the two teams that are rivals, kind of going at it. And the Giants, fortunate enough, took 2-3 against the Dodgers that weekend. So that was kind of cool and kind of an honorance of him. So yeah, just tough. 86, he obviously was getting up there in age, but he just kind of, when you see the reality kind of it physically happen, it sucks. It hurts. So like you mentioned, you pretty much mentioned a lot of the teams he was with. Obviously, he was with the Red Sox for a couple years, only two. The Giants were kind of his main team. He was with the Braves for a couple years also. And so, yeah, I mean, he pretty much had a decent, well, I would say pretty good career. It was pretty long, deservedly for him. So he got into the Hall of Fame in 1999, and he was born in Puerto Rico. So he obviously had the roots down over there as well too. So just a lot of things for him that were pretty impressive on and off the field. And yeah, sucks. We're gonna miss him.
Yeah, he finished his career with a 297 career batting average, had 2,351 career hits, 379 home runs, and 1,365 career runs batted in. So very respectable numbers there for Mr. Cepeda. In my opinion, definitely worthy of being in the Hall of Fame. And yeah, he played with some really talented ball players throughout his career. Obviously, he joined the Giants when they first moved to San Francisco, so he played alongside Willie Mays. He played with Willie McCovey for a little bit. Unfortunately, Willie McCovey also being a first baseman, they had to make a choice as to who would be the primary first baseman. So they put Cepeda in the outfield for a little bit, but that didn't work out necessarily. And as I mentioned, he had a lot of knee problems throughout his career, and ultimately he was just dealt to different teams, kind of hopscotched a little bit during the second half of his career. But he'll definitely be remembered as a Giant. But he, as I mentioned, he helped lead the Cardinals to the World Championship in '67. He also helped lead the Braves to the very first National League West Division Championship in 1969. That was the first year of divisional play around Major League Baseball. And he was a member of the Oakland A's in 1972. The A's won the World Series that year. I don't know if he got a ring, though, necessarily. But the A's won the championship that year. And like I mentioned, he joined Boston for a year in '73 and wrapped it up in Kansas City in '74. And yeah, I definitely think that, and like I said, he definitely left behind a legacy that'll never be forgotten. And it stinks and it's sad that that his passing takes place just 2 weeks after Willie Mays passed away. And yeah, you mentioned about Tim Wakefield and the Red Sox. It's a little not as close, but it also kind of reminds me a little bit in a way of how close George Steinbrenner and Bob Shepard passed away. Both men were affiliated with the Yankees back in 2010. They died like 48 hours from each other. So it's definitely a tough. It's been a tough time for the San Francisco Giants organization, but yeah, it's definitely legacy that'll live on forever. So rest in peace to Orlando Cepeda. And now we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about the Home Run Derby. So Major League Baseball is alternating the Home Run Derby format this year. I'm reading this off of ESPN from Buster Olney, very respected source when it comes to Major League Baseball. If you want any kind of information regarding Major League Baseball or anything, Olney's one of the go-to guys. And he covered this topic. So the way that this is going to go now is that there are going to be 8 competitors altogether. So typically it's 4 from the American League, 4 from the National League. And the top 4 advance to the second round. And a tie. So the first round is going to be 3 minutes long. And in those 3 minutes, a hitter will see a maximum of 40 pitches. So a tie if there's a tie, there will be a tiebreaker by the longest home run that will be hit in the first round. And the Derby actually moved to a timed format in 2015. So since then, players have been mentioning how they've been fatigued a lot quicker during the Home Run Derby as the years have gone on. So Major League Baseball, that's one of the reasons why they're doing this, to alternating the rules a little bit. So in the first round, it's 8 hitters. The top 4 advance. A tie is broken by the longest home run in the first round. That in the semifinals, it will be bracket style. It will be the number 3 ranked hitter versus the number 2 ranked hitter, and the number 4 ranked hitter against the number 1, and that will be based on the first home run totals. And finally, the top 2 will face off in the championship round. And the rules, as I mentioned, in the first round and the semifinals, it's a 3-minute round, 40 pitches maximum, and you will have 1 timeout. There are also 3 bonus outs, and every swing is either a home run or an out. So if it doesn't go out of the ballpark, it's automatically an out. A 425-foot home run in the bonus period will earn a 4th bonus out. And then once it gets to the finals, there will be a 2-minute round. There will be a 27-pitch maximum. You get 1 timeout, and the same bonus rules apply here as in the first 2 rounds. So it's a little convoluting if you ask me. I just wish that they would go back to the traditional 10 outs around. I thought that was much simpler to follow along with. And I definitely think that the pacing, while it may have been a little slower, was definitely more organized and more enjoyable. Here, this just sounds so convoluting and so messy that I had to read this article multiple times to understand what the hell was going on, to be honest with you. And if anybody's having a hard time understanding what I'm trying to say here, I don't blame you for asking yourself, what am I talking about here? Because in all honesty, when I was reading this, I don't know what I was even reading. So it was very confusing, very weird. I just wish they would go back. I just wish they would just do it old school. It was much better. It was much cleaner, more organized. This is a little absurd. It is what it is. I mean, I'm not too crazy about the Home Run Derby to begin with. Don't get me wrong. I think it's entertaining, and I like to see guys kill the crap out of baseballs and hit them to the moon. But, like, I don't know. This is a little – like, how many Home Run Derby rule changes are we going to have? Are we going to have this every single year? I mean, this is a bit much for me. And, yeah, I don't know what your thoughts are about this, if you even understood exactly what I read.
Yeah, say that 10 times fast. But yeah, I agree with you. The 10 out, rule when I was younger, but I was accustomed to it. I was talking off the air. It just adds more juice, I think, if the limited more rules than it should be. I understand that for players, they need kind of more time in between. I know that there's been a lot of players that have backed out of the Home Run Derby because it's kind of fucked up their swing in the second half of the season. Now, there are some guys like Juan Soto. I believe there was that one year with Juan Soto that he had an awful first half, and he was in the home run derby, and in the second half, he completely turned it on. There's not a lot of guys like that, but there are some. But I think partly the reason why a lot of players don't do it anymore is because of the pitch clock and the time kind of in between. Well, now with like the 3 minutes and stuff, it looks like the players got their wish. Of course, Ryan, it comes down to this at the end of the day. So, yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, it sounds like 40 pitches, first round for 3 minutes. I mean, it's a lot of pitches
Yeah.
that everybody's going to get. So, you would think at least half of them are probably out, more likely than not. So, I don't know. I mean, where's the home run derby even this year being
And the home run
played?
derby is in Texas.
In Texas. I mean, the ball flies there for the most part. So, yeah. So, we're going to have to see in terms of who's even participating in this. Most of the time, the nod's pretty good. Obviously Gunnar Henderson, I'll re-announce his name in there. There could be some like X Factor ones. I wouldn't be surprised if like Adolis Garcia is in it. I mean, he's a power bat. He's in his home park, kind of like J-Rod was last year with in Seattle. But we'll see. That just overall with these rules, I don't know. Like you mentioned, I just kind of like the old-fashioned rules better. It just adds more to it. I like the home run derby. I think it's a lot of fun. I actually prefer better than the All-Star game. The All-Star game actually used to mean something, and now it really doesn't anymore. So that's why I like the home run derby a little bit more, because I feel like there's a little bit more at stake. So, but yeah, I agree with you. The more every single year, if the rules keep on doing with this, then even as much as I love it, it's gonna lose its touch.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of lost its for me. It's lost its touch. That's just my personal feeling about it. And 3 minutes for the first round in the semifinals is the maximum of 40 pitches. I don't know if anybody can throw 40 pitches within 3 minutes. That's going to be a lot. You're going to have to go one after the other. And I don't know
It's
if
gonna be like fast toss.
fast toss basically, and the hitter I think would be exhausted too, and the hitter only gets one timeout as well. And no matter what, you're gonna get three bonus outs. So I guess basically, you get the 3 minutes, and then you get three bonus outs basically. And if you hit a 425-foot home run during the bonus round, then you get an additional bonus out. So that's the first two rounds, like I mentioned. And then in the finals, it shrinks down to 2 minutes for a 27 pitch maximum with one timeout, as I mentioned, and the same bonus rules from the first two rounds applied to this. I hope I clarified that as clearly as humanly possible there for anybody who might be confused as to what these new rules are. Trust me, I was very confused reading this at first, and I was just befuddled. Like, why do we need to do this again? Can't we just go back to the old way of doing this home run derby? And I mean, the home run derby has had some pretty fun, cool moments in Major League Baseball, and the guys really made it stand out. The players really made it stand out, and it's fun to see all the fans fighting for the home run ball as it lands into the stands. But yeah, it is what it is basically at this point. And I mean, I really don't know what else I can add on this other than the fact that we'll see how it plays out this year. We'll see if this is either a positive or a negative. Hopefully to God, though, when it comes to the rule changes for the home run derby, Major League Baseball takes a back seat on that because we're kind of getting a little tired of it. I was never really a fan of the home run derby going to a timed format to begin with in the first place. I always just liked the old way it used to be. And ever since it went to a timed format in 2015, it's just steadily lost. I've just steadily lost the appeal to watch it. And in recent years, like I just haven't really cared for it at all. So
I can see it. Like I understand.
Mm-hmm.
There, like you mentioned, the rule changes every single year. I don't know. I just like specifically just how crazy the power is for some of these guys. Even though the pitches aren't as like a maximum speed from these guys, but there's some guys like Pete Alonso last year, a couple years ago. He had a guy that was just throwing it right in his wheelhouse, and it just the crack of the bat. I mean, just seeing it consistently was fun to watch.
Mhm.
One of my favorite guys that I saw won it. I mean, I wish I would actually physically be at one because I know that there's some people that didn't want it. It's been pretty sick. So that'll be on something on my bucket list for sure at some point. But Bryce Harper a couple years ago, I remember in Washington, he had a really fun one. And of course, the most memorable one was at Yankee Stadium with Josh Hamilton. I mean, that was of course Chris Berman. I mean, that was really the peak. I think that was still with the 10 out rule, right,
Yeah,
Ryan?
so,
Probably
yeah,
at that point. So, you know, you can kind of see from that you know, time till now how much it's really kind of changed. And yeah, just the time and all that type of stuff. You know, I could definitely see why it maybe has turned you off a bit.
yeah. I definitely remember the Hamilton. I definitely remember Hamilton going off at the old Yankee Stadium. He reached places there that not many other ball players reached, especially in the upper deck and right field. He hit it like high up into the upper deck and right field, and maybe besides Barry Bonds or Mickey Mantle, not many other players reached that height when it came to hitting home runs at the old Yankee Stadium. The last home run derby that I can vividly remember watching from like start to finish was 2017 when Aaron Judge won it, because I just wanted to see if he would how far and how many home runs he could hit, because that was his rookie year and he had taken the league by storm, and he obviously won that tournament that competition. That was actually a pretty stacked home run derby. You had guys like him, Giancarlo in his last year with the Marlins. Obviously, that was Stan's MVP season. He was involved. This was in Miami too, so he was a participant. Gary Sanchez at the time when he could still rake as a hitter, he was in the home run derby. Cody Bellinger, that was
Gary Sanchez.
yeah,
Wow.
he was in that competition. Cody Bellinger, that was his rookie season, and he was in the home run derby. Charlie Blackmon, Miguel Sano, Mike Moustakas, and I think Michael Bourne, who was on the Marlins at the
God. There's so many guys now from that list that you're like, where are they and why?
You would have thought
Crazy.
you would have thought that their careers would have taken to bigger heights. And besides Judge, the other guys really haven't reached the height.
I mean, Giancarlo's still a power hitter.
A little bit, yeah.
To be fair. Yeah.
But you talk about in recent years though, Stan's career has never really been the same since he won the MVP. That was his peak, basically. I don't think he's never going to reach that level ever again. So that was definitely as good as it's going to get for Stanton. But that was the last home run derby that I vividly remember watching. It was impressive to see how Judge nearly hit the window, I think, of Marlins Park. He cleared the outfield concourse area and he hit the windows area. That was pretty sick. And I remember Dylan Betances' jaw dropping, like clutching at the sides of his head, like holy crap. It was a fun one. That was the last home run derby that I vividly remember watching and having a good time watching it. Obviously, being a Yankee fan, it was fun to see a Yankee win it. So we'll see if Gunnar Henderson wins it this year. And let's just transition into that. So Phase 2 of All-Star Game voting is taking place. So in regards to the All-Star Game, Aaron Judge and Bryce Harper are locked. That's no surprise there. The two of us predicted that both of those men. Well, actually, you mentioned Bryce Harper in your National League prediction. I actually forgot about Bryce Harper, which is completely asinine to forget somebody like him. But
good.
Yeah, but Aaron Judge, obviously, that was a no-brainer. He is in the All-Star Game. Bryce Harper's in it. And as we mentioned, Gunnar Henderson was the first person to announce his participation in the Home Run Derby this year. And right now, he's the only participant who has announced that he will be competing in the Home Run Derby. So we'll see who else decides to join Gunnar this year in smashing home runs to the delight of baseball fans. You brought up the fact that maybe Adolis Garcia could maybe put on a show for the hometown fans. I could see that happening too. Garcia, he definitely has power. He's not having the best season overall, but I think just for the delight of fans, he can. I don't know if I forget. Do you need to be an all-star in order to participate in the home run derby?
No, you don't have to necessarily. I think really, if you get at least some votes, but they don't bring you into the All-Star game, like Although Garcia more likely than not is probably not going to be a starter,
Mhm.
and there might be a chance he might be right outside looking in of the reserve. So, but with just his name overall as a whole, yeah, I mean, I just think he seems like a guy to me, Ryan, that could have the potential Juan Soto type, like where a very tough first half of the year, and then just goes off in the second half, especially if like he does really well in a thing like this. Um, I think just his overall game, I mean, he's a strikeout or homer bust type of guy. He doesn't hit really for average. I mean, he's more of like a 240, 250, but he could slug you around 25 homers, max 27. I mean, what is he at right now in terms of home runs? I'm curious.
He's at 16.
Um, he's at 16. That's low for him. I think personally. That means that he is striking out a lot. He pops out a lot too, because just his overall uppercut type swing. Um, but remember last year he was, tearing the cover off the ball, especially in the World Series run. So, um, yeah, I think for him, I think he'd be great. I'm thinking, I mean, if Bryce Harper wasn't hurt, I would think maybe he might be potential. Remember Randy Rosarina, but Randy's really completely fallen off a cliff this year. So I don't think he would do it. I think Vladdy would have a chance to come back.
I could see that.
Uh, I don't know if there's anybody else that you're just thinking of right at the bat here. Um,
I mean, the ones that I could see from the American League are Henderson, Guerrero.
oh,
I could do
Adley Rutschman,
maybe. I mean,
because
Rutschman's had
Adley did really well in the home run derby last time,
yeah.
so he could be somebody too.
Well, the Orioles are leading the major leagues in home runs. They're a home run hitting machine. So I could see Adley doing this again, and to compete alongside Gunnar, I think that would definitely be a treat for the two of them and for Oriole fans and for baseball fans. I think that would be a sight to behold if the two of them participated in the home run derby together. So I could see that. So maybe my predictions would probably be Gunnar, Adley, Vlad. I maybe Kyle Tucker. I don't know. But is Tucker still hurt right now? I think he might.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe scratch Tucker. Maybe Jordan. I don't know. Maybe Jordan would want to participate.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of the guys who were in it last year.
Mm-hmm.
Just I know J Rod obviously was in it last year. Um, yeah, there's a lot of guys. Luis Robert Jr. Mookie
Mm-hmm.
Betts was in the home run derby. Do you remember that
I do not
last
remember
year?
that. I don't remember. I honestly,
Yeah,
I didn't watch the home run derby last year. I haven't really watched it in
yeah.
a while.
I think that's right because Mookie, like, they interviewed him afterward, and like he didn't do much, but he's just like, you know, I just kind of did it to see how I do, and it doesn't sound like he would do it again,
Mm-hmm.
but he had a pretty good year home run wise last year. I mean, he's hurt too right now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, Mookie. So there are some guys specifically that I feel like that would participate, like Bryce and maybe even Kyle Tucker, even Mookie possibly, just because Mookie's just that type of dude. But and Shohei, we didn't even talk about Shohei yet. Shohei, I don't think wants to do. I don't think that Dave Roberts wants Shohei to do it because I think that he wants to be as get ready for him for pitching. Which, by the way, Ron, I don't know if you've seen Shohei yet, but he's been starting to throw a little bit.
Mm.
Um, so I think that he's pretty much ahead of schedule to start pitching for next year. So that's good news, obviously, for Dodger fans, but for us baseball fans because we miss it. We miss Shohei pitch. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did mention Kyle Tucker. Tucker's not doing the home run derby. He's still on the injured list right now. He's been out for a month, and I mean, it looks like he's making progress and returning to the lineup for the Astros, which would be huge for them. But right now, he's still hurt, and he's probably not going to play. He's definitely not doing the home run derby, and most likely he's not going to play the All Star game either. But it's good. That's good news to hear on Shohei Ohtani that he's already resuming throwing a little bit. And it will be good definitely to see him back on the mound in the coming months. Probably in less than a year, he'll be back on the mound. and hopefully he avoids another Tommy John surgery because this is already his second one, and he's definitely a specimen. There's no doubt about that. I'm not surprised to hear that he's already throwing again because not many people have the willpower and physique like Shohei Ohtani. So that's definitely good to hear that. So yeah, the All-Star voting officially ends tomorrow. So for fans who, well, actually, if you're listening to this, we're recording this on July 2nd. Tomorrow's July 3rd. So tomorrow's the end of the All-Star game voting. I don't know if you have any predictions for this year's All-Star game. Do you have a prediction as to who you think is going to win, AL or NL? Who do you think is going to be the most valuable player in the All-Star game this year, if you had to choose off the top of your head?
Quickly before I get into that, my prediction. I want the MLB fan voting to realize that they have made a mistake by not getting Jarren Duran in this All-Star game. I saw specifically, Ryan, the results currently right now in terms of where Jarren Duran sits in terms of fan voting, and he is in like 16 out of like in the outfield out of like 20 guys. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I'm not even trying to be biased here. I mean, I have facts here to back this up. Jarren Duran specifically has been a five-tool player. He's had a resurgence of the last couple of years. He hits for power. He hits for speed in the leadoff spot. He can feel now. He has the speed to steal bases. I mean, goodness gracious. I'll send you this out the air afterward, but that kind of drew me off a little bit a couple of days ago. I don't know. I feel like the AL's done a pretty good job the last couple of years. I don't know. That's like to me with you in terms of Home Run Derby. I'll watch it. You know, if some Sox are in it, which I think Devers might be at some point. I don't know. Maybe Tanner Houck will be in. If some of the Red Sox are in it, I'll watch it. I mean, I'll still watch it regardless. But this stuff is going to be going on while I'll be on vacation this year. So I don't really know how much I'll be watching it while I'll be on a cruise ship. So we'll see. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah, no, I'll watch it this year. I'll see how it goes. For the sake of it, I'll say the National League wins.
Well, the National League did win it last year, a very rare win for the National League. The National League has absolutely been embarrassing in the All-Star game for like the past almost 30 years. Since 1997, the American League has won, I think, every All-Star game except for 2010, 2011, and 2012, and last year in 2023. So the National League has only won 4 All-Star games since 1997. If I'm not mistaken, which is absolutely pitiful. And also that kind of annoys me because the National League is the older of the two leagues, and the National League used to dominate the American League, especially back in like the 60s and the 70s. And the All-Star game back then was a little more personal for them. They actually wanted to prove to the American League that you're an inferior league, and we're going to prove it in the All-Star game. P. Rose definitely embodied that with his hard-nosed style of play and barreling into Ray Fosse in the 1971 All-Star game. I miss the old days where teams wore their own uniforms too during the All-Star game. I don't like these designated uniforms that the leagues are wearing now. They've been doing this, I think, since like 2021. If I'm not mistaken, or 2019. I think it was 2021 they started doing this, but I don't like them. And to be honest with you, I think that they've mostly been ugly ass uniforms. I can barely read the fonts. The uniforms are just so dark, and it just doesn't look good at all. They look like almost camouflage uniforms. They just don't look appealing to me at all. They're they look ridiculous. Like absolutely ridiculous. And the home run and the All-Star game, you know, in addition to the home run derby, the All-Star games also just lost some appeal to me. You know, I mean, I didn't like. I know other people would probably feel a different way. I never was a fan of the caveat that whoever wins on the All-Star game, that league gets home field advantage in the World Series. I understand they were trying to make it stand out a little bit more. But I just didn't think that was the right thing that that the winner gets. I thought that the home field advantage should always go to the team with the better record, and I'm glad that that's the case now. But when it comes to the All-Star game itself, there's just definitely no, like, the effort on the field is definitely lacking. You know, the players definitely don't give it their all, and I can understand that to an extent. But I would like them to give it a little more effort and at least try and put on a show. I just felt like back in the old days, when in like the 2000s or whatever, and like I said, the 70s and the 80s, players definitely cared about it more, definitely put on more of a show than they do now. I mean, nowadays you got guys taking selfies with umpires. That's a reference to Nelson Cruz taking a selfie with Joe West at home plate, which honestly annoyed me. To be honest, I'm like, this is what the All-Star game is now. We're taking selfies with umpires, and it's stuff like that that kind of annoys me a little bit. And also, they also mic up the players a little bit too much, and they just would go around the field. I mean, it's nice that they take the viewer on the field with them, but I think it's overdone. I think they just do it to too many players. If you want to do one player for an inning, all right, but I think it's just too many mic'd up segments for me to care for. If I had to make a prediction for this year, I'm just going to say the American League wins, because the National League, for the most part, and if you look at the standings, there aren't many great teams out there. I think there have been more people who have stood out in the American League this year than the National League, possibly. So I'll say the American League wins again, because they've just killed the National League for so many years now. And for the sake of being a biased Yankee fan, I'm saying Aaron Judge wins the All-Star Game MVP. So,
okay. For me, oh man, I'm gonna go Gunnar Henderson.
Gunnar Henderson, I can see that. I do think Henderson's gonna go a yard in the All-Star game.
Yeah, he feels like a good candidate for it. I've been kind of slacking with my betting recently, but I might put a betting in for a little bit for sakes for the All-Star game, because that might be the reason how I watch it. Maybe do the run total or who hits the first homer.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll might put a little bit in there.
All right,
but yeah, it's gonna be in Texas, so it should be fun.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes this year. But the voting ends tomorrow, and we'll see if anybody. We'll see who else joins Gunnar in the Home Run Derby. Some other players, I'm sure, will be making their announcements relatively soon, later this week, and so we'll get a better indication of what the Home Run Derby field is going to look like later on this week, and we'll see who makes the All-Star team this year. And regardless. Whoever makes the All-Star team this year, for the most part, they do deserve it. For the most part, there are always like a few guys who I disagree with being on the rosters, but yeah, I mean, actually, there's one quick question that I wanted to ask. Do you think that MLB should still do fan voting for the All-Star game, or if they should do it based on like statistics and how things are going on? Because like I just mentioned, sometimes I disagree with a couple of guys who are on the roster, but I feel like that's always going to be the case.
Fan voting is a thumbs down for me.
Fan voting is a thumbs
down. I think it's massive bias for too much specifically. Do it by the stats. Kind of do it in terms of how it's really shown. Jaron Durant, for instance, you look at stats. He had a phenomenal first half, and he might not even be a reserve this year. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr., I think I looked at the stats overall. I mean, Bobby Witt's been one of the best shortstops. He will be one of the best shortstops in baseball for a long time. But Gunnar Henderson had like double the votes, I think, in terms of for shortstop. And I think Gunner's a great shortstop. Don't get me wrong. But if you look at the comparison of both guys, Ryan, I mean, it's kind of shocking that one has double the amount of votes over the other. But like Bobby Witt specifically. So yeah, I think the fan voting just gets a little too much. I understand that there's sometimes fun with it and be like, hey, like, I'm just going to go with all these guys that, like, there's obviously some of the fan voting, it's like anonymous. So I was like, okay, that's fine. With like Judge or, Jordan or Shohei, like, that's fine. Like, we get it, like, because You take away the fan voting, the stats are the stats. But then you look at some other guys that's like, kind of maybe on the fringe, or like you're like, all right, they should be, and they just don't get enough love because the fan voting is just taking the bias out of it, and they don't look at the specific stats for it. So, the thumbs down 100% for the fan voting for me.
Yeah, I'm starting to lean that way too. I mean, he's not going to make the All-Star game, but a little while ago there was an update like for voting for the All-Star game, and I saw that Alex Verdugo was getting votes, and I'm like, he does not deserve to be an All-Star this year. Like, get out of here. Even like come on. So yeah, it's that stuff like that. Like, yeah, I can definitely agree with that feeling. So. Yeah, the All-Star game takes place on June 16th, and it will be held in Texas. And now we're going to get into our teams who are going to meet for the second time in 2024. Round 2 between the Yankees and the Red Sox this year will be taking place this weekend, and this time it's going to be in the Bronx at Yankee Stadium. The Red Sox took the first series at Fenway Park 2 out of 3, and they'll be looking to do that or one better this weekend at Yankee Stadium. The Yankees are looking for a little redemption. The Yankees are coming off of a road trip in which they went just 2-4. They did split a big 4-game series against the Blue Jays. From the last week when we were talking, we talked a lot about the Yankees because they were struggling a lot. They're still not completely out of their funk yet, but I think you're starting to see a few signs here and there that they're starting to come around a little bit, and they're starting to find their refine their identity a little bit more. I mean, obviously, 3 out of 4 would have been better than just a split, but the way they won those 2 games where the offense came alive and put together really good at-bats and were scoring a lot of runs, I think that might be a sign that they're starting to slowly but surely start to come around a little bit. The Yankees are back home at Yankee Stadium for a 6-game homestand this week, beginning with 3 against the Reds, and then the Red Sox obviously come to Yankee Stadium this weekend. So yeah, I'm actually going to be going to the game on Friday night, July 5th, against the Red Sox. So that'll be fun. This will be the 4th Yankee Red Sox game that I have been to in my lifetime. I'm currently 2-1, 2 wins and a loss. So we'll see how this one goes. I think Friday night is going to be Nestor Cortez against Tanner Houck, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's going to be the pitching matchup. And Nestor had a rough outing in Toronto. But he's been one of the Yankees' better starting pitchers recently. I think I like the odds a little bit there. But Houck has been pretty tough this year, and that might be a tall order for the Yankees. I think if I had to predict for this upcoming weekend, I mean, it was the same prediction that I had last week. I could be wrong, obviously, but I'll say the Yankees take 2 out of 3 against the Red Sox this weekend at Yankee Stadium. I don't know. What are your thoughts going into this weekend?
Yeah, well, they might be catching the Sox at the right time. We've kind of slumped a little bit. Our pitching's kind of regressed recently. Houck himself even kind of faced off the earth, but Houck's been so great, it's hard to kind of get on him. But this past weekend was Xander Bogaerts' return back to Boston. They had a tribute video with him on Friday. It was really, really well done. And Don Orsillo, and this is where John Henry, this is where I criticize you once again for doing something stupid. Don Orsillo had something the other day, and apparently that he was disrespected apparently by the overall franchise because of John Henry and kind of the way that things kind of transpired there, kind of at the end. And then you look at Xander Bogaerts after Sunday's game being the last Padre in the dugout, essentially just looking across. And just, it sucked. It just kind of sucked looking at that because he should have been a Red Sox lifer. I understand the contract was what it was, and we got a decent future coming up, but there's a lot of guys in sports that you're like, man, and the Red Sox have had a ton of those guys kind of walk out the door. Now, it did suck that Xander did not play this past weekend. He's still kind of hurt, so But it was just good to kind of see him be there because there's a lot of guys that get hurt and they just don't make the road trips. But I think that he talked with a lot of the media. He linked back up with Devers, which was awesome to see. He talked with Ceddanne Rafaela. Him and Ceddanne actually both are from Aruba, so that was kind of cool. I think Ceddanne's from Aruba, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, it was just really cool to see that. Tatis didn't play this past weekend. But yeah, awful weekend for the Sox. They got their ass whooped 2 games, Friday and Saturday. Pivetta pitched on Friday. He pitched well for the first couple innings, and then it got absolutely wrecked. And then Saturday, Howard got absolutely walloped. Manny Machado hit him for 2 homers. Maybe we should stop doing the booing for Machado like the Yankees do for Altuve because somehow it bites us in the ass. Although that we got the last laugh against Machado with Chris Sale striking down in the 2018 World Series, so it always will have that moment. But yeah, and then we got the Marlins coming up starting tonight. The Marlins have been awful, so hopefully we at least take a couple against the Marlins at Marlins Park, which I don't know the last time we played a series there. It's been a while. Might have been, yeah. I just do not remember 2018. You might be right, Ryan. I'll have to take a look off the air. But
was it at the beginning of the season?
This weekend, yeah. No, you're right. I remember. Yeah, Mookie hit a couple homers that. Yeah, that was the team that I looked at. I'm like, yep, we're about to do some damage, and the rest was history.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this weekend the probable starters are Halkin Cortez, like you mentioned on Friday, and then Winkowski and Cole on Saturday. So that does not sound great. Oh yeah, Rafael Devers will be coming home to see Daddy come on Saturday, so that'll be fun. Then
no, Daddy's seeing. Oh wait, no, Devers is Cole's daddy. So Cole is seeing Daddy this weekend, and I think that's how.
I should have mentioned that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if you realize this, Ryan, but the Sunday game was originally going to be a 1:35 game, and they switched it to a night game. So it's going to be on ESPN on Sunday at 7, which I love that for the Red Sox because we played great on Sunday Night Baseball for some odd reason against the Yankees at Fenway and at Yankee Stadium. So we got Cutter Crawford against Luis Gil on Sunday, and Luis Gil's been much more ineffective recently. But Cutter has had his home run struggles, and especially at Yankee Stadium, it does kind of worry me. So I do think we have the matchup on Friday. I think we win that one. I think Saturday is a chalk-up loss, but I think that Devers will go deep. I'll probably like a 7-2 type of game where I think you guys kind of pull away at the end there. And then, I don't know, because he was so good for so long, but he's kind of been struggling recently. Cutter definitely deserves to have a decent start. Because it's at New York, I'd probably give you guys 2 out of 3. I think we won the first one, and then we lose the next 2. I think there might be one game you guys walk it off. I think there might be a game that the bullpen kind of falters, even the pen has been great. But then afterward, we have Oakland at home and we have Kansas City at home. So 2 series, I think, specifically we can catch back on track despite it. So, Miami, I think at least if we take 2 and then we at least take 1 in New York, I think we at least have a 500 road trip. And that'll be okay because the Red Sox just kind of have to stay afloat. My hope is we take at least 2 out of 3 in both. But I think that you guys respond and take this series in New York and make it a 3-3 record between both teams.
Yeah, I could see that. The Yankees have been playing a lot of divisional games recently. Like I mentioned, we played the Red Sox at Fenway, and then they had to play the Orioles at Yankee Stadium. And this past weekend, they were in Toronto for 4. They got Boston this upcoming weekend, and then the Yankees end the first half of the first half of the season before the All-Star break with a 6-game road trip in Tampa and in Baltimore. So they've just had the Yankees have just had a gauntlet of American League East division foes over the past couple of weeks. And if there was ever a time to break out,
guess who's starting to heat up too? Is Tampa Bay. They're starting to heat up too.
Of course they are. I hate those guys so much. I really hate them.
Them and Houston, the 2 teams we thought that were going to be
I
in and
never thought
out
Houston,
are.
I never thought Houston was dead.
Oh no, I didn't think either. But there's a lot of people that did. A lot of people were starting to write him off early. A lot of people were talking about is Bregman going to get dealt and all this and that, and they just took 2 out of 3 from Grimace, which we'll talk about in terms around the league. But the Mets, man, up and down.
They're too inconsistent for my liking. But yeah, the Rays, even if the Rays are getting a little hotter, I still don't buy them to be a postseason team. I think they can definitely be a thorn in the side of teams who are competing for a postseason spot. They'll definitely make whoever they're facing work for it. But yeah, the Yankees just have had a gauntlet of divisional games, and if there was ever a time to break out of a slump, this is the time. You don't want to you don't want to prolong this slide that you've been on and allow teams in your division to gain some momentum and ground. So it's a pretty big homestand for the Yankees. It feels like it's been forever since they've been home. I feel like they've just been on the road a lot this year, but it's a big homestand for them. And like I said, 3 out of the final 4 series of this half of the season are against AL East teams: Red Sox, Rays, and Orioles. So yep, this is the time to get going. And like I mentioned, I'm going to Friday night's game, so hopefully they give me a win, and we'll see what happens there. And finally, we'll wrap it up with around the league. So today is July 2nd, the day that we're recording this. And as of today, this is where the Major League Baseball standings sit. So in the American League East, the Orioles and the Yankees right now are atop the AL East, but the Orioles actually have 1 less loss than the Yankees, but the Yankees have 1 more win than the Orioles, so they're both atop the AL East. The Orioles are 53-31. The Yankees are 54-32. The Orioles have actually been slumping a little bit recently. Even though they won a series against the defending world champion Rangers this weekend, they got their asses kicked on a Sunday night. So hence they were not able to gain more ground on the Yankees. So both teams are still fighting. The Red Sox are 8.5 back in 3rd place at 44-39. Pretty respectable, honestly. The Rays are at 5. What?
I said, yeah, I agree.
Yeah. The Rays are in 3rd, or in 4th, I'm sorry, at 500, 42-42. And the Blue Jays, I think we can officially say that they will be sellers at the deadline. They are 38-46.
They're so bad.
They are not good at all. Their pitching is absolutely in shambles. And I think you could possibly be looking at the last of Vlad Jr. and Bo Bichette as Blue Jays in the coming weeks. The Blue Jays are going to have to make some pretty tough decisions coming up, so we'll see who stays and who goes. But I think it's clear that this contending window is officially closed with this group of Blue Jays. In the AL Central, the Guardians, they've kind of cooled off a little bit, but they're still in 1st place by a large margin. They're 52-30. The Twins are behind them at 47-37. The Royals have been playing a little bit better. They're 47-39. They're in 3rd. The Tigers are in 4th. They are 38-46. And the White Sox, of course, are in last at 24-62. In the AL West, the Mariners, their lead in the AL West continues to just shrink and shrink and shrink. They are 3-7 in their last 10. They have not been playing well recently. They're 47-39. And right behind them are the Houston Astros, as we mentioned, 43-41. The Astros have just been red hot recently, 9-1 in their last 10. They've won 3 in a row, took 2 out of 3 against the Mets this weekend, and they took the first game of the series against the Blue Jays yesterday. So right now they are just on fire. So whoever has the Astros on their schedule in the coming days, be prepared, because they are right now just a machine, and they're looking like the Astros that we've known for the past decade, basically. So, good luck to any teams who have the Astros on their schedule in the coming days. 3rd place, the defending world champion Rangers, 38-46, still have not looked anything like world champions this year. 4th place are the Angels, 36-47. The Angels have actually been playing some pretty decent baseball. They had won 6 in a row. They're 7-3 in their last 10, but still nowhere near a playoff team. And of course, in last place are the god-awful Oakland A's at 30-56, 2-8 in their last 10, and they've lost 2 in a row. Continue to just embarrass themselves in their final season in Oakland. And in the National League East, the Phillies lead the charge at 55-29. They are in first place. Braves are 46-36, 8 games back of the Phillies. In third place are the Mets, the Grimace Mets, 41-41 at 500 overall. Too up and down for me to really take them seriously, honestly. And this Grimace gimmick, I cannot
get some bullpen help.
I cannot wait for this Grimace gimmick to end. I am so tired of it. It's so annoying. Get this thing off of my television. I don't want to see it anymore. It's so ugly. And McDonald's stinks. I'm not a fan of McDonald's. In fourth place are the Nats, 39-45. They're 3-7 in their last 10, so they have not been playing well at all. And then, of course, the team that's not been playing well all year are in last, the Marlins at 30-54. In fifth place. In the National League Central, the Brewers lead the way. They are 15-35, comfortable 6-game lead in that division. The Cardinals are 3 games over 500, 43-40. Looks like the Cardinals are starting to come back to respectability a little bit here, and they're fighting for a wild card spot, so that's good to see. The Pirates are in third right now at 40-43. The Reds are in fourth place, 39-46, and the Cubs are in last at 39 and the Reds are 39-45. I'm sorry, and the Cubs are in last at 39-46. And finally, in the National League West, the Dodgers are in first place at 52-30, of course. The Padres have been playing much better, and they are now 46-42. They're 7.5 back. The Diamondbacks are 41-43, almost at 500, so that's a plus for them. The Giants are in fourth place at 41-44, 11 back. So they're really not going anywhere this year. So much for all those offseason moves that they made. We'll wonder, maybe see some of those moves get out to the deadline. Who knows? And in the last place, of course, are the Rockies at 29-55. They are 3-7 in their last 10. They continue to play some pretty bad baseball, although they did have a nice walk-off win last night, courtesy of Jay Cave. In the wild card standings, right now in the American League wildcard, the wildcard teams are the Yankees, who have a 7-game lead with the Twins right on their tail, and the Royals. Red Sox are only 1.5 games back for that final wildcard spot in the American League East. The Astros, though, are game momentum, as we mentioned, so they're starting to get back in the playoff picture. The Rays have momentum. They're only 4 games back, so those are the teams to look out for in the American League. And in the National League, Braves have a 3.5-game lead for the first wild card spots. Padres have a half-game lead for the second spot, and right now the Cardinals are occupy that final wild card spot with the Mets a 1.5 back and the Diamondbacks 2.5 back. I don't know if you have anything else that you want to add before we wrap it up.
Not really. I did read that Marcelo Mayer, Kyle Teal are going to be into the Futures game coming up soon. So I want to congratulate them on that. The core 3 for the Red Sox, the future, I guess you can say, for that. Happy 4th to you, Ryan, and best of luck for this weekend. We'll see in terms of how our teams go. Another thing about the Yankees recently, you've been hating on him, and deservedly so. Gleyber Torres, maybe he's found something. DJ, maybe he's left the ball a little bit.
It's too small of a sample size. It's too small of a sample size for me. I need to see at least 2 weeks to really determine whether or not these guys have broken out of their slumps. I can't recall how many times I've said, "Oh, now he's going to break out. Now he's going to break out," and then he never breaks out. So
right.
Yeah, we'll see.
But at least you have to feel onto something, especially for those guys you're not even expecting much. You got to have to hold on to something. So at least it's something.
I mean, I don't expect the Yankees to let go of Torres this year. I think they want to try and ride it out with him. And, I mean, I know a lot of teams are going to be fighting for Luis Rengifo at the deadline. I just don't know if the Yankees would be able to get Rengifo without giving up a lot from their farm system. So we'll see what the Yankees do at the deadline. I think they're going to be prioritizing their bullpen more than anything else because their bullpen has just been in shambles for the past couple of weeks. It's been terrible. They definitely need to get some more arms in there. So, yeah, I will be at the game on Friday night, and hopefully I will be going back home happy that night. But we will see. My happiness depends a lot on how the Yankees do. It's not healthy at all, but it really has a lot to – my mood definitely depends on how the Yankees do. And I wish that wasn't the case, but I've done that to myself, so I don't really have anybody else to blame but myself because of that. But yeah, that's all the time we have for episode 39 of Hitting for the Cycle. Thank you all for tuning in. Till next time, that's Ben Kruse. I'm Ryan Touhey. Take care.